Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Godzilla Podcast. This time, some more news with regards to the Godzilla 2014 film. This in relation to who the film editor is going to be for the movie. Now, I mentioned this as a separate podcast because when one thinks about it, the film editor is actually one of the most key, important roles within the movie. Because there's literally only one of them, and they have the undaunted task of taking hours and hours and hours of footage. We're talking in some cases hundreds of hours of footage, and condensing them into essentially a 2-hour film. And in a lot of ways, it's a thankless role because so many great movies out there, people can immediately name who the director was, maybe even who the writer was, but anybody that is involved in the editing field, people will be mystified. And that's the whole role. The way the editor works is the better the movie, the less you'll notice the editing. And there's some powerful films out there that people have seen and have grown to love that have some of the most memorable sequences ever. I mean, you could name, for example, anything like The Godfather, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, anything like Jurassic Park, even something like the previous Superman films, like the number 1 and 2. All those films, they have many, many memorable scenes, and all of them came at the end from an editor. And the editor essentially took sequences and edited them and spliced them together into the memorable scenes that we know of. So when it comes to this film, Godzilla 2014, it looks like the editor that's been hired is a guy by the name of Bob Ducsay. I hope I'm saying his name right. It's spelled D-U-C-S-A-Y. And Bob, looking at his roster on IMDb, he's an editor that's actually been quite involved with both the sci-fi and action genre. He also seems to be a very good buddy of Stephen Sommers because this is a guy that's apparently done the editing on almost every film that Stephen Sommers has. So I'll give you some example of what he's done. Bob apparently was the editor for Van Helsing. He was also there for The Mummy, The Mummy Returns, The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, G.I. Joe, the recently released Looper, and Jack the Giant Slayer. So, as you can see from that resume, Bob is somebody that absolutely has action and sci-fi down to a T when it comes to editing. So we should be in good hands with the Godzilla 2014 film. And again, it's weird how the editor is essentially, again, a thankless role, and yet it has such a powerful role. Like, for example, there's a scene in Silence of the Lambs, if anybody have seen that movie, when the main lady, Clarice, she's meeting Hannibal for the very last time, and it involves a scene where he's asking her about, I guess, what happened on her farm with regards to those lambs. And the way the editing in that film is, the camera starts out away from his cell, but the closer that the longer that the interview goes between the two of them, it's very subtle, but the closer that camera goes into the cell. And then finally, it goes so close that it's actually inside the cell, as if you're inside Hannibal's cell altogether with Clarice, who's revealing some of the most detailed information about her past. Very, very subtle stuff. It's an art form of sorts. And without that clever editing, it would not have the same amount of tension and exposition and impact that would have before. That's the role of an editor. It's an art. It's subtly creating and influencing the way you view a movie without you even realizing it. So that's how important a film editor is. Some editors are so important that they create lifelong relationships with famous directors like Steven Spielberg. I know he uses one guy, I think his name is Michael Kahn or something, but this guy Michael has essentially been involved in many of Spielberg's biggest films, and again, some of Spielberg's most memorable moments on film come from this guy. So anyways, we got Bob Ducsay, editor of the Godzilla 2014 film. Share your thoughts below. What do you think? Is this good news, bad news, based on the film roster? Do you have high hopes for what he could do with Godzilla? And as always, thank you for watching my videos. Take care. Bye.